Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason and I am literally on the state line of Kansas and Nebraska. Yeah, I mean, like I said in some of my videos, I am a big geographical geek, so it's kind of thrilling to stand on such thing. I'll show you kind of what outlines that, but there's also a historical marker erected by the Nebraska Historical Society, and I'll just go ahead and show that to you. Okay, so I don't see a Welcome to Nebraska sign, but I did however see a Leaving Kansas sign, but that lets me know I'm going to Donovan County. Actually, let me just go ahead and take a walk. Now this is I think this is Kansas State Route 7, and this is considered the Glacial Hills Scenic Byway. Yeah, the sign right here says Leaving Kansas, come again. So yeah, it's kind of surprising there's no Welcome to Nebraska sign, but this is the easternmost road that takes you into either state. I mean, the whole border line between Kansas and Nebraska is very long. Now, and then that road right there is literally the state line, according to Google Maps. I don't really want to drive on that because, well, it doesn't look like it's been regulated. But I think supposedly it takes you out to the Missouri River, but I don't know that for sure. But here is the historical marker. Okay, so how did this border come to be? All right, so here it is, titled Point of Beginning of the Public Land Surveys of the 6th Principal Meridian. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of May 30th, 1854 created the territories of Nebraska and Kansas, which had to be surveyed before settlement could proceed. In November 1854, Captain Thomas J. Lee of the U.S. Army Topographic Engineers determined the 40th degree of north latitude along the Missouri River. On May 8, 1855, the cast iron monument on the bluff above was erected by Charles A. Manners to mark the beginning of the baseline, or the 40th parallel, forming the Nebraska-Kansas boundary. And then through 1855 to 1856, Manners surveyed westward from the cast iron monument along the baseline 108 miles to establish the initial point of the 6th principal meridian. The initial point controls the system of sections, townships, and ranges of the public land surveys in Nebraska, Kansas, and parts of Colorado, Wyoming, and South Dakota. The original surveys of Nebraska were completed in 1883. All land transactions, as in patents, deeds, and easements within Nebraska, are filed within the Register of Deeds of each county and reference the corners set during these surveys. And this was put up by Nebraska State Historical Society. And this is, believe it or not, my first Nebraska video. On a personal note, the last time I literally set foot in the state of Nebraska I was in the single digits. I don't remember how old I was, but my family went on a trip out west to Colorado and Kansas to visit relatives, and we also stopped in Wyoming and we stopped in Nebraska, and I have no memories. I mean, it was a long time ago. 1989, I think, maybe was the year. But apparently, yeah, there's pictures of me that exist in Lincoln, Nebraska. So the trailhead to cast iron monument, 125 yards. Okay. So 125 yards later, I'm here at this trailhead. Now let's see what the sign says. The Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska Fish and Wildlife Division. Oh. Don't worry, I don't plan on hunting or bringing my guns out here, so rest assured. Oh man, that looks like a lot of upwards and steep paths to cross. So, all right, here I go. Now I feel like I'm almost there, but here's a marker that talks about the Atchison and Nebraska Railroad. Okay, I'll go ahead and read it. The few remaining concrete posts and barbed wire are the last reminder of the fence built by the Atchison, Nebraska Railroad. The first railroad in Richardson County ran at the base of this hill where the highway is now located. The first track was laid in Atchison, Kansas on September 22nd, 1870. It reached this point on January 10th, 1871, and the final destination in Lincoln, Nebraska. A distance of 106.5 miles on August 27, 1872. The Missouri River ran parallel to the track, making erosion a major problem. The line was abandoned in 1933. It was 144 miles from Atchison to Lincoln. And the barbed wire they're talking about is this. You feel that? Ooh, hello. It's not electrical, but I forgot how spiky it can be. But yeah, that's cool that they actually put up a marker that talks about this. And they have benches here for anybody who wants to rest. All right, upwards. And it looks like I made it to the baseline survey, or the monument. Okay. Obviously, I think this is a reproduction, but I am in Kansas, and I got the other foot in Nebraska. 2 different states, baby. And let's see what it says down here. Okay. Well, it says 1988, but I don't really know the organization that put this together or redid it. But and there's more that explains over here. Well, obviously there's a lot of information, so I'm just going to kind of whittle it down. Now, this was part of the Missouri Compromise, and it's also part of the French-owned land until Thomas Jefferson bought it, and is now known as the Louisiana Purchase. That was in 1803. And then 1804 was the Lewis and Clark expedition. They passed through here on July 11th, 1804, near this spot. And then two years later, the same way, just different direction. And then about the cast iron monument. Now, it was cast in St. Louis, Missouri, okay, in 1854. It was placed at this location 100 feet above the road, which is where I'm at, May 8th, 1855 by Charles Manners, like it said down there. I mean, I'm not going to get into very much detail here, but it's about the 480 north latitude. And then this is more about our system of land surveys. And then this talks about the Kansas-Nebraska Act, about the whole slavery issue. There's obviously there's too much, but I'll talk more about that in other videos. But I thought I'd show you this really cool geographical feature. Definitely be careful if you bring kids here, because you can easily trip. Luckily there's stuff to hold on to. And that's where I was down there. You can't see the marker, but you can see the road of the literal state line, that road. So yeah, I did not realize I was 100 feet. It goes without saying, this trail is very treacherous. It's short, but very steep. It is not paved. Luckily, it's not muddy or slicker or slippery or whatever. But I just thought I'd come show this to you. Hopefully you make the trek out here someday. All right, I am Jason, right on the border of Kansas and Nebraska. Can you dig it? All right, thanks for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I'm signing off.